This was never about a genuine security concern. It was always about naked aggression.
The war in Ukraine begins.
Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war.
As Russian forces attack, people all over the world rally for peace.
It's just plain crazy.
Tonight, we're hearing from a Colorado man with family still in Ukraine.
There's not much you can do but pray, so we've been praying.
How they're staying safe amid fears their city could be the next target.
They don't know what's going to happen tonight.
A drug bust at Union Station ends with dozens arrested.
It's gotten so bad, I mean, most people don't even want the heroin anymore. They want the fentanyl.
Tonight, a former user opens up to Denver 7 about drug use at one of the city's most popular tourist spots.
We begin tonight with a live look at Kyiv, Ukraine. It is 7 a.m. there, the sun just coming up, and U.S. officials believe this capital city will fall to Russian forces within the coming hours.
Tonight, the Ukrainian president ordering the full mobilization of the country's military to repel Russia's attack, the biggest in Europe since World War II. Roughly 26 hours into the invasion, at least 137 Ukrainians are dead. Hundreds more have been injured.
This afternoon, President Biden announced more sanctions and economic measures aimed at holding Russian President Putin accountable for choosing war over diplomacy.
Putin's aggression against Ukraine will end up costing Russia dearly, economically and strategically. We will make sure of that. Putin will be a pariah on the international stage. Any nation that countenances Russia's naked aggression against Ukraine will be stained by association.
The fighting in Ukraine has sent thousands fleeing their home country. Videos show Ukrainians crossing the border into Poland, where U.S. forces have been deployed to help with an expected influx of refugees.
Meanwhile, many Ukrainians who could not get out in time have moved underground. Take a look at this. These images show hundreds of people huddling in subway tunnels, striking resemblance here to London during the Blitz more than 80 years ago.
And tonight, calls for peace in Ukraine are reverberating around the entire world, including here in Colorado. This afternoon, dozens of people rallied for peace outside the state capitol. One man we talked to said he's originally from Russia, but is 100% in support of Ukraine.
I don't think it's in Russia's interest or Ukraine's interest or anybody's interest. In 21st century, creating the war in the middle of Europe to reinstate Soviet Union is just plain crazy.
Calls for peace in Ukraine also going on in Russia. There were anti-war rallies held across that country, including Moscow and St. Petersburg. And then some of the protesters were seen being taken away by police.
Now, according to the state, Colorado is home to 11,000 Ukrainians. Many more people have deep ties to the Eastern European nation.
Today, Denver 7's Sloan Dickey talked to one man praying for the safety of his family still in Ukraine.
Well, Shannon and Ann, the conflict in Ukraine is happening 5,600 miles away, but there are Coloradans right here that have friends and family caught in that conflict. We spoke with one of those Coloradans today. He said he never thought something like this would play out once again.
These are famous drawings over here.
Michael Winar and his family have filled their house with tributes to their loved ones in Ukraine.
And then these are our two most famous paintings. So that's actually Kyiv. So this is a traditional Ukrainian icon of the wedding feast of Cana.
Though he was born here in America,
my wife's Ukrainian, so these are her parents, and then her twin sister, and then her sister's son.
Most of his family still lives overseas.
No, this is like my worst nightmare.
In the country currently being invaded by the Russian army.
This is one of the worst days of my life, honestly.
His brother-in-law and sister-in-law live in Lviv. Communication with them is limited as Russian tanks roll over the border.
We've been talking to friends on Facebook. We've been talking to friends through Instagram, through Messenger. They lost internet for a while yesterday.
He says the past 48 hours have been tense. Worries of Russian bombs or possible conscription for the Ukrainian military.
You know, they could get conscripted at any time, so I don't want him to risk that because then there's no one to protect the family. So it's just a really hard time for us.
Tonight, Winar is monitoring the tense situation, saying Lviv is a target for a Russian bombing campaign. His family has packed their bags but are sitting tight out of fear that trying to flee could be too dangerous. He says there's a bomb shelter across the street from their house that they can get to if needed.
It's scary that history can repeat itself so quickly.
A history his children have never seen.
Just saying that to a 10-year-old breaks my heart. I didn't want her to ever have to understand war, but that's where we're at.
With few options and an uncertain future,
There's not much you can do but pray. So we've been praying.
his family is praying that the history they know too well will not repeat itself again.
It's just unthinkable. You couldn't imagine this ever happening. I mean, in your wildest dreams or their worst nightmares.
Now there's been reports this evening of explosions in Kyiv. However, Michael has told me just minutes ago that his family is safe in Lviv as the sun rises there after another night of conflict. Shannon?
Oh, I cannot imagine what that family's going through. Thanks for sharing your story tonight, Sloan. And war in Europe, on top of COVID, on top of all the other difficulties we've gone through here recently, it's a lot to take in and can understandably cause stress and anxiety. So if you, maybe someone you love, is struggling with mental health, help is always available. The phone lines at the Colorado Crisis Services are always open. The number is 844-493-8255, right there on your screen. Or if you prefer, you can text the word TALK to 38255.
Denver police say an operation at Union Station ended with 42 arrests, many arrested on warrants or for possessing or distributing drugs.
Now, for years, open drug use and crime have plagued Union Station, of course, one of the city's most popular tourist spots.
And today, Denver 7 CB Cotton spoke with one former user who says getting drugs at Union Station is quick, easy, and deadly.
In the same way the ice thaws on this neighborhood street, this young man says his spirit
I'm feeling really hopeful.
has finally warmed up too.
I'm here, so yeah, it feels really good.
This man in his early 20s has asked us not to share his name or show his face, but he bravely has chosen to share his story.
Yeah, I was about 14 years old, 15 years old when I started using opiates and got addicted. Actually got started from a doctor for migraines, and that's when I first got my that's when I first used my first opiate.
From pills, he gradually progressed to heroin, and then
I was using about 10 pills a day.
Fentanyl?
Yeah, fentanyl pills, yeah.
The fentanyl crisis in Colorado is no secret. Over the weekend, 5 people died in Commerce City after ingesting cocaine laced with the deadly synthetic opioid.
It just kind of made my heart sink. It made my heart break.
And in and around Union Station, Denver 7 Investigates captured these images of people smoking some sort of substance out in the open. We're told this is the most common way fentanyl users ingest the drug. And on Thursday, Denver police announced they'd arrested 42 people in a sweep of the area. Those who've used say the drug is easy to find around the bus terminal.
It's about anywhere between $10 a pill, $30 a pill if they're trying to sell it to you as real oxycodone. They could sell it up to $30 a pill, you know, but normally about $10.
But the risk of fentanyl being laced into drugs is really what he wants to warn the world about.
Drugs are not safe in Denver right now. I had a lot of close calls the last year of my use, you know.
And while efforts to clean up the drug use continue, he hopes equal effort will be put into recovery resources.
I think that's the most important thing is more social outreach, more community programs, you know. That's been huge for me. But
this young man's spirits have indeed warmed. How are you feeling right now, 13 months sober?
I feel like I'm finally moving the right direction for the first time in my life. You know, I'm thinking about going back to school, and I'm just excited for the future.
And we really want to thank this young man for trusting us to tell his story. We're also so proud of how far he's come in his journey. For anyone out there who's struggling with addiction, we're going to have a list of resources over on our website, thedenverchannel.com. From downtown Denver tonight, I'm CB Cotton, Denver 7.
Starting to climb out of the deep freeze. Wait till you see how warm the temperatures get by early next week.
Construction booming in Denver, but as the city grows, so too does the push to save some of its oldest buildings.
We're seeing a lot of cities and citizens sort of use historic preservation as a tool to prevent new development.
Tonight, we're going in depth on the landmark designation process and why some say trying to save buildings isn't always a good thing.